number one thing that's important to understand is what exactly is a house pattern. So a house pattern in essence means that there's a lot of oil in the middle part of the lane and not a lot of oil on the outside. So that way when you play the lanes correctly, you have miss room on the inside that's going to allow the ball to push towards the head pin, and then if you miss on the outside, you're going to create friction that's going to get the ball to come back towards the head pin. So in essence, if you play the lanes correctly and you make good shots, you can shoot a lot of high scores. So most house patterns generally are between the distance of 39 to 42 feet on average. So using the rule of 31, normally what I'll do is subtract what I think the oil pattern distance is, and then actually stand a little bit further left to see the point where I can find the early friction in the pattern, to see where the bowling ball hooks ahead of time. So in that process, after I find where the early friction is, to see where the bowling ball hooks before it gets to the end of the pattern, I'll move right off of that spot and use that as my break point as I try to bowl for score. So in the process, if I miss a little bit further left, I should be able to find enough friction to be able to get the bowling ball back to the head pin. And if I miss a little in, there should be enough oil in the middle part of the lane in order to get the bowling ball to stay on line with the head pin, therefore maximizing the miss room that I have. All right guys, so enough talking. Now it's time that I hit the lanes and I show you guys exactly how I get lined up on house. So as I was talking about earlier, I decided to move my feet a little bit left. During the practice time, you generally get 10 to 15 minutes before league. So utilize that time really to find the early friction to help you line up your shot for when you're trying to bowl for score. So now off of that shot, I'm gonna move about 3 boards right with my feet, and hopefully I can hit flush pocket and get that 6-pin out. All right, so like I said, guys, the goal, I moved to about 2 to 3 right with my feet. I essentially got the ball to hook a little bit later down lane, getting the ball to go flush pocket, and essentially I'm gonna stay there as long as I can, and hopefully I can produce some good scores.
Alright guys, so the release position of the fingers is what dictates how much axis of rotation we're going to put into the ball. So axis of rotation also is commonly known as the side roll. Let's say for example, if you have no axis of rotation like 0 degrees, doesn't matter how many reps do you put on that ball, the ball will continue to go straight. So in general terms, when it comes to axis of rotation, we could say that having to 0 to 30 degrees, we consider a low axis of rotation. And then 30 to 60 is considered a medium axis of rotation, and then 60 and up is going to be a higher axis of rotation. So now we're going to go to the lanes, and then we're going to show you how these different releases can affect your game. Alright guys, so the first release that we're going to talk about is the medium axis of rotation. This type of release is great for the typical house condition. It's going to give you the best of both worlds. It's going to give you earlier hook while also back-end recovery. So this release is the one that I particularly use the most. It's the ones that I feel more comfortable using with. It's right in between the low and the high, and usually it's a great starting point to know what adjustments I need to do if I need to do any adjustments. Alright guys, so the second type of release that we're going to talk about here is the low axis of rotation, or more commonly known, forward roll. So this type of release is going to give you a smooth overall ball reaction. So it's going to get your ball rolling early, it's going to hook in the front part of the lane, and overall it's going to give you less backhand reaction, but it's going to give you that smooth overall motion. So this type of release is great for when you're bowling on fresh oil conditions that you need your ball to start hooking early, or in sport shots when the lane conditions are a little harder and you need control. So this release is going to give you the most control out of the 3, and it's a great tool for bowling on a sport condition, fresh condition, or oily conditions. So as I mentioned, this release is great for fresher oil conditions or when the lanes are hard, but one of the cons of this release is when you start moving left and you see your ball hooking early but doesn't have a lot of energy in the back end, you're going to start seeing a lot of flat tens, a lot of buckets. So that's a clear sign that you need to get out of that release and start getting a little bit more around the ball so it can give you extra back end reaction. Alright guys, so the third release that we're going to talk about here is the high axis of rotation, or more commonly known, getting around the ball. So this release is great for when you need to stand left, when the lanes are more broke down and you need extra backhand reaction. So this release is probably the bowler's favorite because it's the one that creates the most hook. Because as the more around you get the ball, it's gonna skid to the front part of the lane and it's gonna store all that energy and it's gonna keep it for the backhand, creating a sharp hook. All right guys, as I mentioned earlier, this release is great for when you need to stand a little bit farther left. When you see your ball like kinda doesn't storing as much energy in the backhand, it's time to get left and get around the ball. That's usually towards the end of the second game of league or in the third game of league when you need those sharper angles to make sure you carry those 10 pins. So this release may look pretty down the lane. It's the one that generates the most hook. It's the one that I personally like the most because, you know, makes your ball looks pretty. In reality, it's really hard to use when the lanes are fresh, and it's only great for when you need to create those sharper angles down the lane. So maybe you can get away using it on typical house shots, but let's say if you're bowling on a sports shot condition when the lanes are a little flatter, you may want to stay away for this type of release. So drills are exercises that focus on a specific aspect of your game. Also, it's a great tool to start getting you warm up. So another reason why drills are really important is just help you keep your fundamentals in check. So now I'm gonna show you my 3 favorite drills that I like to use at every practice session. All right guys, so the first drill that we're gonna talk about here is the release drill. This is my favorite exercise in bowling because it helps you to practice your release. So the first thing you wanna do is get on a strong finish position. Make sure your shoulders are straight and then simply focus on your release. This drill is great because it helps you work on different types of releases. So if I want to work on my versatility, this is the drill I want to be working on because it's going to help you only focus on your release. All right guys, so another drill that I like to use a lot is the swing and slide drill, or most commonly known as a one-step drill. So this one is a great tool for, again, practicing your release, but also we are adding one more step to work on your swing. So we're gonna set up, we're gonna leave a little space, like 1.5 steps before the foul line. We're gonna bend our knees a little bit. We're gonna do small swings, and then when you feel ready to bowl, we slide and we post our shot. This drill is great for working on your release, but now it's gonna add the component of the swing. So also, it's a great tool to simply work on your swing direction while also posting your shot at the line. All right guys, so the next drill that we're gonna talk about here is the 3-step drill. So this one is great to improve your timing. Also, it's very common when the lanes are super dry and you need to get in front of the ball return, you're gonna be ready because you already practiced how to 3-step. So for this drill, I like to use the ball return as a guide. The key is starting with your left foot. If you are right-handed or if you're left-handed, you're gonna start with your right foot. So again, this drill is great for getting your timing right, for practicing your 3-step approach. Also, you're building up. You start with no step, add 1 step, then go to the 3-step, and then your body is ready to go into a full approach. All right guys, so there you go. Thank you so much for watching. Please let us know in the comments, what other videos would you like us to make? What other things would you like to see on the channel? Thanks again, and we'll see you on the next video.